Are you set to go to a US visa interview and you want to know what the most important question they are going to ask you at that interview and how to answer it? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you the most important question they're going to ask and help you to answer that question so you have the best chances of getting approved. Hi, and thank you for joining me to talk U.S. immigration. My name is Andrea if you don't know me already, and I have put together this YouTube channel to give you clear, concise, and easy to understand information about all different types of U.S. immigration topics. I've been doing immigration law for over 20 years, so I got your back. In this video, we are going to talk about what the most important question you will be asked at your U.S. visa interview, and why they ask that question, and how you should answer that question. Let's get into it. All right, before we start with what is the most important question they're going to ask you, be aware that you want to watch a lot of my other videos about visa interviews and all kinds of tips and pointers. So make sure when you finish this video, you turn to my playlist of US visa interviews, so you make sure you get all the information that you need. But in this video, I want to go through with you what the most important question is going to be that they're going to ask you, and to make sure you understand why and also how to answer that question. So the most important question they're going to ask you is, what is the purpose of your travel to the United States? That is the most important question and likely the first question they are going to ask you at any US visa interview. Why are they going to ask you that question? Well, first and foremost, they're going to ask you to establish eligibility. Confirm that the purpose of your travel aligns with the type of visa that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a visitor visa, they want to make sure that you understand what a visitor visa is for, and that the purpose of your travel lines up with the reasoning or the reason you would have an actual visitor visa, student visa, work visa, whatever it is. So they're trying to establish eligibility. And if you don't establish eligibility with answering that question, they're going to likely deny you on misrepresentation or fraud. So one of the main reasons why they ask you what is the purpose of your travel and why that is so important is to establish eligibility for granting you that visa. The next reason why they're going to ask you that question and why it's the most important question is to assess your intent and your risk to overstay in the United States. Remember, when you go to an interview to get a non-immigrant visa, you cannot stay there permanently, and you have to prove to them that you intend to return back home to your home country after this temporary visit. So they're asking you the question in order to make sure that they can assess if you are actually going to leave when you say, and more importantly, come back home when you say. So they want to make sure that they do not have to deny you under that famous 214B refusal that everyone dreads, that you're not going to come back to your country, that you are a suspect overstay and they're not going to allow you to go. If you give vague or inconsistent answers on this question of what is the purpose of your travel, they're going to probably think, I don't know if I trust this answer, and they're going to maybe think, I don't think that this person's going to actually come back, and they have an ulterior motive. So they're likely going to deny you based on 214B because of your answer and think that you have immigrant intent instead of non-immigrant intent. Another reason why this is a really important question that's asked, and one of the first, is to prevent fraud prevention and national security. So the answer that you give to this question, the officer is also looking to see, is this person going to commit fraud, human trafficking? Are they going to work in the U.S. illegally? All these things they can decipher from the answer to the question, what is the purpose of your travel? If an applicant provides unclear or misleading or contradictory answers, it raises huge red flags, and it is going to likely end in a denial of your application. This question also allows them to verify supporting documents and story consistency. Because if it is not consistent, your story, throughout your answer, it's going to cause suspicion and, like I said, red flags. So they want to make sure that they listen closely to the answer to this question and make sure that it's consistent with why you're going and the type of visa that you're applying for. They'll also use it to cross-check any documentation you bring that they look at, because they don't always look at the documentation. I have other videos I talk about. Should you bring documents? Do they look at them? Why don't they look at them? But you should always, always bring the documents. So it allows them to cross-reference, if they want, the documents that you have in your hand with the story that you're giving them and the answer to the question, what is the purpose of your travel to the United States? Any inconsistencies will lead to additional questioning and, unfortunately, likely visa denial. They also ask this question to get the interview flow, like what further questions are they going to ask after you give the answer to what is the purpose of your travel. So if you're a tourist, they're going to go through the question of who is funding your trip, do you have a job in your home country, so on and so forth. If you're a student, they're going to ask me which university are you attending, who is paying for education, questions like that. If you're a worker and applying for a work visa, who is your employer? What is your job role? So the answer to your question of what is the purpose to your travel will lead them to the next questions that they will ask in the interview related to the type of visa you're getting and what is the purpose of your travel. So it's kind of like it's a flow. It allows them to understand what the next questions they need to ask in the interview. So how are you supposed to answer the question, the most important question, what is the purpose of your travel? Well, if you've seen my other videos, you need to watch them if you haven't. I talk a lot about the story. The story that you give in those few moments after you're asked that question, what is the purpose of your travel, are key, are like critical to you getting approved or denied, or getting that dreaded 214B. So if you don't want that, you need to really, really, really practice what the answer to that question is going to be. What is the purpose of your travel? The most important question. I know I've said it 100 times in this video, but it is the most important question you're going to be asked during a visa interview. So you need to make sure that you know what the answer to that question is and how you're going to answer it. First and foremost, be concise and be truthful. The more truthful you are and the more concise you are, the better it's going to be. And you need, I cannot stress enough, and make sure you watch my other videos, make sure you tell the story in that first question. If you don't answer the question thoroughly and concisely and precisely, then you're likely going to get denied, because the officer doesn't have more than a few seconds for this interview. So you have very limited time to get across to them the things they need to know in order to check their boxes in their mind and approve your visa. So when they ask you, what is the purpose of your travel? Usually the first question they ask, and the most important one, you need to practice to make sure that you include in that answer all the things that you need to do or get across to them in order to get approved for the visa that you're trying to get. Now, again, make sure you watch my other videos, because in those videos, I go through exactly what are those points that you need to get across in that answer. But the most important thing you need to take away from this video is that what is the purpose of your travel is the most important question. It's usually the first question, and you must answer it in order to make sure that subsequent items that happen in the interview are not going to be tainted, causing you to get a denial at the end. So keep it concise, keep it truthful, but it is super important to practice and get your story straight before you walk into that interview. All right, there you have it. You have the most important question, how to answer that question, and more importantly, why are they asking that question? With that information, you should be set to make sure that when you walk into that consulate and that comes out of the officer's mouth, you knew about it, you knew what to answer, and you're prepared. Good luck out there at all your interviews. I will leave a link below this video again for my free checklist and interview guide. If you want to set up a consultation with me one-on-one to go through and prepare for your interview, there's also going to be a link below this video. So make sure you reach out to me if you want to set up a consultation one-on-one with me, or if you want to download the free interview guide and checklist, it's all down below. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in my next video, and have a wonderful morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you next time.